We move now to our fourth speaker. Richard Newcomb is the Chief Scientist at Bioeconomy Science Institute and will speak about the R&D investment landscape. Please welcome Richard to the stage.
Kia ora koutou, ko Richard Newcomb aho. I'm the Chief Scientist for Plant and Food Research Group, now part of the Bioeconomy Science Institute, or BSI. We love acronyms. As you know, the government's in the middle of restructuring the science sector for the country, and its first move was to restructure the Crown Research Institutes. So 4 public research organisations have been established, which the BSI is one of them. The other, 2 of the others are restructures of existing CRIs. So the Public Health and Forensics PRO has been born out of ESR, and NIWA, GNS and the Met Service have been merged to form the Earth Sciences Institute. And then there's going to be a new institute formed called the Advanced Technology Institute, which is, you've probably seen some announcements around funding for that. But today I just want to talk to you about BSI and more importantly some of the work that the Plant and Food Group has contributed to the horticultural sector. And I just also at the end just want to briefly talk a little bit about how you can access R&D funding to support R&D in horticulture. So as you can imagine, we're trying to merge 4 Crown Research Institutes. So we've started with the simple stuff like purpose, mission, vision. We've got many work streams trying to actually form the new organisation. Officially, the BSI formed on the 1st of July of this year, but really it's going to take us probably over a year to actually merge into one seamless organisation. Currently, we're running as 4 different groups, with 4 with 4 CEOs running each of the groups. So the BSI is a merger of Plant and Food Research, which serves the horticulture and seafood industries traditionally, Manaaki Whenua, environmental CRI, Scion, supporting the forestry sectors, and AgResearch, supporting the pastoral sectors. So we now have come together to form this new organisation, and it's a large organisation. The reasons for the merger were clearly laid out by the ministers. We've had obviously we've had Judith Collins, and now Shane Retty's Minister of Research, Science and Innovation. The rationale was not one of trying to save money, but more trying to break down barriers between the CRIs, enhance collaboration between the CRIs, create more focus, and create some scale. For example, I was on the phone this morning talking to Bargaining and University and Research, because they're very interested in the BSI, because now we're a very similar size, scale organisation to them, and they're one of the probably premier research providers in the world in agriculture. So I think the BSI is achieving what it's, why it was formed, in that it now has scale and is getting noticed offshore. And I've heard the Minister even talk about the BSI looking attractive to overseas investors, as they have been interacting with places like Bargaining, and they're now interested in the BSI because of the scale that we have. Just to give you an idea of scale, we have 2,000 people in the BSI. We have over 1,500 researchers, so we're a significant organisation. We have sites right across Aotearoa, New Zealand. We're in most of the growing regions. I'm sure you're aware we've got sites, horticultural sites in places far north as Kirikiri, right down to Clyde and Gore in the south. We are represented in the heart of kiwifruit growing region, Te Puke, where we co-locate with the Kiwifruit Breeding Centre. We've got stations in Hawke's Bay where our apple breeding programs are. We're at Lincoln where we have seed and arable research. So we're scattered right across the country. Okay, I just want to tell you a little bit about maybe some innovations that have come out of the Plant and Food Group and BSI that you might not know about. I think Arama Tutukai and others at the conference have already done a lot of hard work for me in showing many logos of varieties that were produced by breeding programs. We saw Envy, we've seen G3 being mentioned continuously. They've all come out of our joint venture breeding programs, and we're really proud of the performance and being part of the growth of the sector. But just so I'd tell you a little bit about some of the other innovations that you might not be aware have come from Plant and Food Group and BSI. So on this slide you'll see one of our innovations where our plant physiologists have tried to optimize light interception by changing the structure of the orchards. You may have seen these planar orchard designs, and they, in our hands anyway, can get productivity of apples over 100 tonne per hectare by narrowing the rows and maximising light interception. So that's a single variable that we've optimised to up productivity. Unfortunately, that took us 15 years to optimise a single variable, and for someone like me who's quite impatient, that's far too slow. So we started working on creating basically the ability to do experiments in silico on a computer by creating models of trees and production systems, the environment around them, and all the things that interact with them, so that we can basically do the same experiment, but not taking 15 years, but taking less than a week, and asking if we were to optimize light interception, what would be the structure of the orchard. So now we can actually do that with just about any variable we want to do, to look at under any climate change model, and do that in silico and provide those insights, and then go out and test them in the real world. So already we've started pulling a digital twin together. We're using that Apple planar system as our kind of first cab off the rank to see if this is going to actually work for us. So the idea here, you'll see that loop where you've got data being sensed by, collected by sensors in the orchard. That informs and parameterizes models in computers, which then we can ask predictions, run simulations of, and then use that information to provide to actors, such as, oh, you need to spray, you need to go out and harvest now. And then again, you can collect data from the sensors, and that can be a loop that goes round and round and round. The eventual outcome is, this is not just a potential tool for research, but eventually, potentially, you could even think about running your orchard using a digital twin. Some of the other work that we've been heavily involved in is keeping New Zealand safe. It's biosecurity is still your number one issue. It has been for the last 15 years. Whenever KPMG do their survey, it always comes back as being the number one issue for the sector. So we're doing our best to make sure that we keep the pests and diseases that we don't have out of the country. So some of the things that we've done, for instance, here is a picture of the samurai wasp, which is a natural enemy of the brown marmorated stink bug. It's probably one of the largest, the greatest threats to our horticultural industry. We have great relationships with researchers in China and Italy that work on this. We don't want it here. But we do want to be prepared if it does get here. So we have gone and sought, or our researchers have sought, preemptive approval to release the samurai wasp if the brown marmorated stink bug ever came to New Zealand. Of course, we've got another catch-22, is we can't actually rear the parasitoid without the bug. So we'd like to actually be prepared and have the parasitoid here. So we're actually working on developing artificial eggs of the brown marmorated stink bug, so we can actually rear the parasitoid without the host at all. That's pretty futuristic stuff. No one's ever done that before internationally, so it would be a major achievement if we're able to do that. Okay, so now I'd just like to switch to discuss some of the options that you have in front of you for investing in R&D. The Ministry of Primary Industries is open for business. They have historically had a fund called the SFFF Fund, which you've been able, it's a co-investment fund. That is now morphed into a new fund, but the same kind of philosophy still applies. You're able to access basically government co-investment for research activity. We can help facilitate that, or you can go directly to the Ministry of Primary Industry to look at co-investment options. Obviously, the R&D tax incentives are still in place, and many of you are already accessing R&D tax incentives for research and development, and that goes on. And then some of the research funds that we access to do work for you through the government is through MBIE. That's all under reconsideration currently, so we're kind of in a watch this space for how the government is going to restructure its R&D funding, which comes through MBIE. So I've got nothing I can really tell you on that one. We're kind of all waiting for the government to make an announcement, hopefully before the end of the calendar year, on what the research funding system is going to look like. Okay, so I guess my key point is that even though we might have changed our name to the BSI, Historic and Plant and Food is part of the new BSI, we're still here to serve you. If anything, we're bigger and better. Rather than having under 1,000 researchers, we've now got over 1,500 researchers that potentially could serve the sector. So we're still here, so please come and talk to us. We're spread across the country. At the conference, we have about 7 or 8 people here at the conference. Please visit our stand and come and say hello and have conversations about what we can do for you in terms of research and development. So yeah, we're ready to partner and help with new solutions and new opportunities. Thank you. Kia ora.